If money was not an option, and we could excavate all of the soils from this site, it would be at least $1.6 million, which isn't feasible. First, we looked at the do-nothing approach. I don't think anybody wants that, because do-nothing means walking away and then let maybe a new owner deal with it. But the good thing is, the town does have the funding to do something. So then we looked at targeted remediation. So that would be removing the most contaminated materials from the site. So we are continuing to look at that just to get our arms around what that means. Because when we look at PCBs, we look at PCBs below 50 parts per million and over 50 parts per million. And why we look at that, the cost is actually different. There are some facilities that will not accept PCBs over 50. So our focus has been, okay, if we are going to have a targeted excavation and leave some material behind, we're going to focus on the more heavily contaminated soils. Sorry, the last option was installing a cap, an impermeable cap. So a cap that would be safe, it would mitigate risk, there would be no penetration of water into that cap, so that way none of the waste would migrate or move around in the future.
Hills, this hole is 4 to 5 feet. I was there today. It's 4 to 5 feet. You gotta drive down into this hole. And all the hills from Cumberland and the hills from North Attleboro come down into that bowl, so all the rain always just funnels right down there. So you're telling me you're gonna start digging in that bowl and you're gonna be able to control another flood when it comes flowing down the hill? Because I've worked for Walks for 38 years, and a little bale of hay or those wattles they use now will not stop the force of water that if you start digging everything up.
So you're talking about surface water. This is groundwater.
The cap has me nervous. I don't understand. Is there a map showing me where this cap is going?
Yeah, so.
Because you're not capping this whole, you can't cap this whole thing off because you couldn't build anything there, right? Is that correct?
No, it is. So it's an impermeable cap.
That's the only area for the cap?
Correct. So the area that depression.
We don't know yet. So you don't have a map of the cap yet?
Ballpark could be around there.
We've got, there should.
Number one. Number
there
two,
is-
are
No,
we
no, hold on. Hold on. There is a figure that shows the.
Map of the cap?
Profile.
So can I request a map of the cap?
No, hold on.
Please, for next meeting? Is that, no?
Sir, there it is.
Just a minute, please.
You're making plans right here, and you're spending taxpayers' money, because I know this is not all coming for free. Somebody's paying for this.
Yeah, the EPA is.
EPA, so my money goes to the EPA tax money, just like everyone else's.
Would you
money
rather
goes.
have us not spend it and then you live with this junk for the rest of your life?
I've been there for 35 years, this hasn't bothered me one bit.
Can you just, like, you're like 72 acres, okay. How big is the fenced-in area? Can you give me a number for
That's approximately 2,000 square feet.
2,000 square feet. Okay.
Yes.
Double
So,
the
like-
size of this room.
Right, so like, not even a house lot, because that's a 15,000 square
Right.
feet, right? So, like, when you look at it and you're trying to say, because I'm looking at all the blow-ups of the pictures that I have, and I'm flipping back in pages, and I'm like, all right, so, am I talking about a raisin? Or am I talking about, so I just wanted to put in perspective,
No,
for
that's
me,
good.
that like, so 72 acres is the entire site, and this is a raisin.
Yep, big reason. Great.
Thanks, Don.
Not a great analogy,
That's-
but like.
No, but that was good. That's a good question.
Actually, if
Please stay off of that site.
I just have to disagree with that comment. My kids have played out in that land for I've been living there 35 years. You know the kids have played out there? Every kid's played out in that lot for 35 years, they had glowing heads on them.
I don't know what about this data you don't believe, but it's empirical and it was gathered by the best engineers we could find.
Saying the contamination is mainly in Rhode Island, and you're gonna do this cap, and the contamination could come back over, why are we wasting all this money?
Because initially, when we saw, and especially that layer of oil in the groundwater, the concern wasn't so much initially that it was the buried debris.
Yeah.
So since then, as we've continued to monitor the groundwater, we're not even seeing that El Napple, so that's a good thing. Sure. So the question, could there be an ongoing source of contamination to that lagoon in the future? Not based upon what we're seeing, no.
Before we do close out, though, again, I do appreciate you all coming out, but I also want to say that I worked in a few different places, and I have to say that truthfully, the staff and the people that we work here in the town are probably the best bunch of professionals I've ever worked with in my life. So I'd like to say personally thank you to Ernie, Gil Hilario, Tracy Costa, Chris Sweet, and Mark Holloway for coming out tonight.